When I was a sophomore in high school, my grandfather, my Agha, Ghulam Haidar Hamidi, was assassinated by political insurgents in Afghanistan. Agha left the comfort of his life here to serve as mayor of his hometown Kandahar, where for 5 faithful years he cleaned the streets from the hands of warlords, fought for women's rights, and worked effortlessly to strengthen the diminished infrastructures and social fabrics of his beloved city. At 15 and already confused in the process of coming of age, his sacrifice served as another point of confusion for me. I began to question not only how to mourn the violent loss of a loved one, but also how a war I had never personally experienced, a war that I was generationally and geographically removed from, could still affect me. How it could still shape my life experiences. This question has since put me on a long professional, personal, and academic journey to answer. Naturally, I first began to unpack Afghanistan's long history and current reality of violence. Afghanistan's strategic location in the heart of Central Asia has turned it into a battleground for power. From the 19th century series of Anglo-Afghan wars to the Soviet invasion in 1979, and to recently fostering the title of America's first intergenerational war, the Afghan people have only ever seen short and sporadic periods of peace. Most recently in its history, Afghanistan has been in a perpetual state of war for the past 4 decades, costing over 3 million civilian deaths, destruction of the entire nation, and creating one of the largest refugee populations the world has ever seen. I slowly began to realize this history of violence was implicitly interwoven in the stories I heard about my heritage. I realized it is a story that has directly caused my being here today. This violent history is a direct cause of our being here today. No matter how globally dispersed or generationally removed we may be from the conflict, it has profoundly shaped the social fabrics of our community. And no matter how much we suppress the memories or discussions of the violence, it will always haunt us. Undeniably, the Afghan American community always has been and always will be a conflict-generated diaspora. While our grandparents and parents came to this country with nothing material but the very clothes on their backs, they also brought with them a burning longing and aching heartbreak for the beloved Afghanistan they were forced to flee. We see this baggage in the eyes of our fathers when they turn on the nightly news. We hear it in the voices of our grandmothers when they share stories of their youth. We feel it in our mothers' tears as they mourn our long-lost extended families, and we even taste it as our kakas rant about how the kebab on our plates have nothing on the ones from the streets of Kabul. As a conflict-generated diaspora, we are different than other diaspora or immigrant groups simply because of this centrality of our homeland's violence in every aspect of our being. Our collective memory of forced exile and violence has created a generational trauma that is suppressed through taboos around mental health and passed down by Afghan oral tradition through the stories we are told and retell about our homeland. Conflict is central to our identity. When we tell others about our heritage and diaspora, we ensure to bring up the ongoing conflict and the Afghan people's warrior resilience and unwavering national pride. We have created little hubs of Afghan community around the country and always celebrate cultural and national holidays. We proudly display the Afghan flag everywhere we can and have decorated our homes with Afghan maps, hand-woven carpets, and rug-covered toshuks. But most importantly, the conflict has created a sense of responsibility among us to Afghanistan, shaping careers in reconstruction, international development, and conflict resolution. Organizations like Zamzam Water provide humanitarian relief, and we hold fundraisers through our Afghan student groups to rebuild the broken educational systems of our homeland. Now, as I unpacked all of these profound ways the conflict has shaped our lives and the very fabrics of our community, one thing stood out to me more than any. We have given up on the situation in Afghanistan. Our diaspora has rightfully lost all hope in the idea of, I'm not going to use the word rightfully, has lost all hope in the idea of peace and is stuck in a Western version of Afghanistan fatigue. But this makes no sense to me because that is not what history says about us. No, in fact, history says we are the unconquerable. We are the ones the world fears and imperial powers warn each other about. And if that is who we truly are, then it is a shame we have fallen into the trap of giving up and we haven't used our collective voice to stop the current violence in Afghanistan. It is a shame we have given up because never before in our diaspora's existence has our voice mattered more than it does right at this moment. Never in the course of the past 4 decades of violence has the path to peace depended on our advocacy more than this very moment. Here's why. As some of you may know, the US government and Taliban insurgency have been in the middle of peace negotiations since this past February. While we saw the same pattern of peace talks with the Petersburg talks and the Bonn conference and all here and there, more than ever before in the 18-year-long conflict between the two parties, they are inching closer and closer to a deal. While this sounds promising in the eyes of those who want to come to a ceasefire, this is also scary for those who want sustainable peace because there is one important piece of the puzzle that is missing: the voice of women, youth, and minorities. The very people who have suffered the most under Taliban rule and the very people who have the most fear that the Taliban will create another political vacuum in Afghanistan while rolling back their hard-earned and constitutionally protected rights. Studies have shown that when peace agreements are inclusive of civil society, they are much more likely to be sustainable. And when women are included, that likelihood significantly increases. Women in Afghanistan make up half of the population, and youth under the age of 30 now make up approximately 70% of the population. And it is simply because of them that Afghanistan has progressed tremendously. Women are now lawyers, doctors, teachers, and politicians, while the youth make up one of the most educated populations in recent Afghan history. In fact, they even take up to modeling on Instagram to share the other face of Afghanistan while simultaneously breaking gender norms. They post pictures on Snapchat and Facebook of them hanging out at normal coffee shops, and they decorate the streets of Kabul to celebrate Valentine's Day like normal teenagers, doing the best that they can do to live normal lives in the middle of all this violence. Now, while the Taliban have said they are willing to stand up for women's and humans' rights in the face of all this progress, their recent actions prove otherwise. In April, they barred a delegation of women from attending the talks in Doha. Over the course of the peace talks with the United States, the Taliban have also banned girls in the Sadipur province from attending school beyond the 6th grade. They have murdered innocent and even pregnant women and have continuously carried out violent attacks in the country. With the United States government as the main facilitator of the peace talks, the Afghan American community plays a pivotal role in this process. As both American citizens and members of the diaspora worried about the motherland, we have a strong collective agency in ensuring that any peace processes in Afghanistan are transparent and inclusive. While everyone may have their differences in opinion about the state of American politics, one thing is undeniable. When the people speak, our representatives listen. With my friends at ADEP, hashtag shout out ADEP, we created this amazing guide to help provide ways for each member of the diaspora to actively get involved. Getting involved is easy, and as the guide shows, there are two main ways we can raise our collective voice against this violence. Through a mass social media campaign raising awareness of the situation and pressuring our elected officials through advocacy to include Afghan civil society in the current talks. Our message is simple. As the main facilitator and key party to the peace talks, the U.S. government should commit to making civil society's meaningful inclusion and the protection of human rights for all Afghans a non-negotiable in any peace process, in accordance with its own laws, policies, and values. The Afghan diaspora will reject any agreement that is not inclusive and does not guarantee the protection of both women and human rights. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of the violence in Afghanistan that has plagued this world for far too long. I want to be able to visit Kandahar in the summers and try its world-famous anars. I want to see the beauty of the Pamir Mountains in the north. I want to be able to visit my grandfather's grave and eventually help rebuild this mysterious and broken land that has made such an impact on my life. We cannot stay silent. We cannot give up right now. We must organize efficiently and rapidly if we want to see a truly peaceful Afghanistan and move past the baggage that is holding down our conflict-generated diaspora.